All right. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us all here today. Today's shiur should be le'ilu nishmas our dear friend Menachem ben Yisrael Yaakov, as well as my dear aunt Rivka Bas Gabriel Tzvi, and for Zaidi, Reb Shmuel ben Yosef Dov HaKohen, and b'schus l'refuah shalema b'karov, Meshalem ben Sarachel, Miriam Basara, and Yair Yeshia ben Chaya Atara. To date, we are on page 109 in the Ora Vigdor, for those who are following along. And we recently started on Perik Shlishi, and we're talking about the first of the 5 basic beliefs in order to have a proper structure of Bitachon. And the first of the 5 beliefs talks about and reviews again that we need to believe that the 7 qualities that we spoke about in the previous chapter, that only Hashem possesses each one of these, and Hashem possesses it to 100% degree. And today we're going to talk about the 6th quality. The 6th quality is past performance. What we're going to talk about today is, if we've seen in the past how much God has done for us. You know, take the world, for instance. When anybody wants to seek a professional opinion from someone, let's say a doctor or a lawyer, nobody wants the guy who graduated top of his class, valedictorian from medical school or law school, but is brand new. Everybody wants someone who has experience. Why? Because the experience is what tells us that this person has a great track record. The experience is what tells us that this person knows what they're doing. You could be the best student in your class, but that doesn't make you a great, operator of the line of work that you got into, right? And so the 6th quality that we're talking about over here of Hashem is, forget everything else. Look at what you have. Look at what God has done for mankind over thousands and thousands of years, from when the day He created the world, from the day you were born, you were conceived, all those different things. Has God not been good to you? Has God ever let you down? Has God not done things for you that makes you progress every single day? So this 6th quality is basically saying, don't look at God necessarily from a point of, okay, the textbook version says you have to do this, you have to do that, or you have to trust. No. Look at God's performance. Let's do a performance review on God, right? If you do a performance review on God, you'll realize that He's come through every single time and He's run this world perfectly, to the T, for you, for me, for everybody that's around. And not just for Yidden, but for non-Jews too. Right? It doesn't mean for the animals, for them as well. Everything was done with such purpose, such precision, with such kindness, such love, that's where we have to look at. We need to understand the past performance. Well, let's get into this. V'hashishi, the 6th of the 7 qualities of Hashem that justify trusting in Him is sheyeda Rav Tov ha'Elokim al Adam, is that he should know from observation, that a person from observing the world, how great is the kindness of Hashem to mankind, right? If a person opens his eyes, he will be convinced that Hashem has been showering upon him kindness and gifts his entire life, not only his life, but his ancestors' lives for thousands and thousands of years from the moment that Hashem created the world. And that experience should be convincing on its own, an argument as to why you need to trust Hashem. And this 6th quality is we're trying to prove to you that it's a good enough reason for you to trust Hashem just because of His track record altogether. And it goes further to say, when a person opens his eyes, he will see that Hashem has begun giving him so much great kindness from the time he was created, without his being worthy of it. And that's another big point that he's making over here. Not only has Hashem bestowed kindness on you and your ancestors, everybody else, since Sheshes Yemei Bereshis, but He does that even before you even deserved any of it. As a matter of fact, you might even argue that you still don't deserve it, right? But Hashem still continues to give every single day to you that kindness and that love. And that itself, you see that He's been giving it to you forever and ever. And so when you look back, you see a person that says, hey, let me be nice to you. And you're like, I don't even know you. I know you don't know me, but let me help you out. I'll help you out with your finances. I'll help you out with your health. I'll help you out put food on the table. I'll help you out with a vacation. I'll help you out with everything in your life. And you're like, who are you? Like, just someone, right? So that's what Hashem is. Hashem has been there since the day you were born and has always bestowed kindness on you, has always been given, even before you deserved it. So that itself, a part of this understanding of Hashem's tenure, Hashem's past performance, that he's been giving it to you before you even deserved it. And that's an additional point to it. And it was not because Hashem needed him. Hashem doesn't need you. Rather, it was a gift, a favor, or a kindness that Hashem has provided you because he felt like it, because Hashem is kind to all creatures on the face of this earth. And many times people are kind to you because they need you. You know, maybe it's in a business acquaintance, right? So they say, oh, let me be nice to you because I need something back from you. I want you to send me business, or you're a service provider of mine, so I got to be nice to you because I want you to do well with my, with whatever I need. Hashem doesn't need that. Hashem doesn't need you to give back to him. Hashem has been showing you over and over, not just for you, but for every single person over thousands of years that this world has been here, that he's been giving it to you without wanting anything in return. When you were conceived, when you were an infant, you couldn't even return anything to him, and he was still there giving you kindness, giving you sustenance. Whatever you needed, he gave you. This is, as we explained in Sha'ar HaBechina, the gated reflection of the Sefer, of Chovos HaLevavos. He touches over here to understand that we're talking about Hashem's kindness. And one of the things, in order to realize what Hashem's kindness really is understanding what those gifts are. Now, if you received a gift from someone, you didn't realize it was a gift, then how do you know that that's kindness? And so he's touching it a bit over here to say that you need to look up the world and you need to learn Sha'ar HaBechina, which is the second Sha'ar of Chovos HaLevavos. Sha'ar Bitachon is the fourth one, right? And once you learn Sha'ar HaBechina, you look into it a little bit, you start realizing all the kindness that Hashem has given us, all the things that when he provides food to us that grow from the earth, how things are done. And over there he also talks about the idea that it says Hashem is the Almighty. He's capable, his strength, his everything. And Rabbi Yochanan, the Gemara, I think it's in Rav Av, says, anywhere in the Torah where it says Hashem is mighty, it also follows with Hashem's kindness. Why? Because Hashem is not trying to be mighty to be a bully. Hashem is trying to be strong and do things because he wants to bestow kindness on you. That's why Hashem does those things. And for that reason and that reason only. And that's what the point is. The point is that when you start realizing, why he touches over here to learn a little bit Sha'ar HaBechina, is so that you could realize what those gifts are, right? Understand that the intricacies of our life, take a human being, there's so many intricacies in our body that you need to be thankful for, yet we take it for granted every single day. And he talks about that in Sha'ar HaBechina. The reason we don't say thank you to Hashem more often is because we take things for granted. If you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, you don't take the whole idea of having money as a gift because you were born into it. You don't understand what it means not to have money. A person who comes from nothing and makes money understands and appreciates that. And that's what leads him to have more appreciation. And that's what Sha'ar HaBechina is about. Sha'ar HaBechina is understanding what you should need to appreciate. Because if you were born with a silver spoon, which we were, each one of us is born with that silver spoon. We are born perfect health. We are born with kindness, with love, in a home, with food. We don't have to starve. We don't have to worry, be left on the side of the road to die. Hashem bestowed kindness on us from the moment we were born. That is being born with a silver spoon. Metaphorically, people only use it in the sense of like, oh, he was born into money. Money is not the only silver spoon in this world. Many people are born into money and they're born with missing limbs, a heart or a kidney that doesn't work, right? So where's the silver spoon in that? So understand that you were born with a silver spoon. And because of that, you don't realize all the gifts that you have. You can breathe on your own, you can walk, you can talk, you can use your own hands, you can do all those things on your own, so you don't realize those gifts. So Bechina is teaching you that. Realize those gifts. And when you start realizing those gifts, you start realizing this sixth quality. The sixth quality of past performance, of Hashem always being there, has always been there for you every single step of the way. For you, for your parents, your grandparents, and everybody before that. Since Sheshes Yimei Bereshis, the day he created this world. And because of that, because of this past performance of Hashem, that in itself should be proof enough for you to cement and say, yes, I need to have full trust in Hashem because he's always been there, he always will. He's always done the right thing for me and for everybody else. And then sometimes we don't see it that way, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. Many times, by the way, you will see the outcome of it. You will see how the kindness, how it played out, even though it might not have looked like it. It might have looked like, something bad, but you see later on how good it was for you. That's that sixth quality, to internalize, to realize the past performance, and maybe even touching a bit about learning on Sha'ar Bechina, learning a bit about what are those kindnesses, what are those gifts that Hashem has provided you. Now, with that said, because it's Friday, we're getting into this week's Parsha. This week in Parshas Ekev, Moshe Rabbeinu talks to the Yidden about making a lot of money. That's what he talks about here. Moshe Rabbeinu warns the Yidden against the lure of success. Why is he talking about the lure of success? He explains like this. The reason why Moshe Rabbeinu talks about the lure of success is because he doesn't want us to be misguided. At the end of the day, what happened? The Yidden came out of Mitzrayim. Hashem provided them with man, and they took that for granted. Then Hashem provided them riches, a lot of riches. They went to Eretz Yisrael, they had cattle, they had everything they needed. They had all this riches. If you go back to yourself, and you look around, and you look at people, maybe even yourself, and if you have success, what you consider success, whatever that is, what do you attribute that to? You attribute that to yourself. You say, I worked hard. I'm smart. I'm really good. I stood by. I persevered. And I did that. And what happens with that is you wind up feeling self-entitled. You start forgetting Hashem. Because why? Because you think that it's you that made that happen. You don't realize the mistake. And that's the Moshe Rabbeinu is trying to drill into the Yidden over here. When you have success, when you start making a lot of money, and you start being like, God, I appreciate the little help, but I got it from here. No. Every single piece of success in your life, that comes from Hashem. And when you see things that you worked hard for, actually the biggest mitzvah in the world is tzedakah. But tzedakah has I think, 7 levels or 5 levels of tzedakah. You know what the number one level of tzedakah is? The number one level of tzedakah is providing a person with a job. Why? Because a person, although at the end of the day, you can either give them $1 or you can provide them work that he makes $1. At the end of the day, they still have $1. But how they earned it makes them feel good. Because if they went and they did some work for you and you paid them for their time, for their knowledge or whatever it was, they feel good. They came home at the end of the day and they said, wow, I worked hard. I contributed something to someone who needed my help and I got paid. I feel good about it. And that's why it's the biggest mitzvah. The first level of tzedakah is providing someone with a job because of that. Because you're not only giving someone the opportunity to be able to support themselves and their family, but you're doing it in a coveted way. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu says. Don't get to a point where that coveted way starts becoming your way of saying, like, I earned this. I worked hard for it. I'm smart. I'm good at my job. That's why I made this money. It has nothing to do with Hashem. A little bit God. I davened to him. So yeah, he got me my first job. But from there on, I had it by myself. No, that's the mistake. And Moshe Rabbeinu warns the Yidden against this. Don't become one of those people who strays away from Hashem. The beginning, Hashem was there. When you davened to Hashem, when you had nothing, and you said, God, please help me. And he's still there. When he started helping you, that was him helping you. Because you asked so nicely. Or for whatever the reason, he decided that you deserve it. And that's why you have it. Don't stray away from that. That is the message that Moshe Rabbeinu tells us to look at this week. And the exercise that we learn out of this is that from now on, view everything you have, even though you may have worked hard for it. Realize that that's also like Hashem giving us the man. I know the man was easy. You walked out of your house, it was right there. Right? And by the way, that in itself is point when Sha'ar Bitachon, we're going to learn that Hashtadlus is required for everything, because even when the man showed up at your doorstep, you still have to walk to your doorstep. So at the end of the day, there's a Hashtadlus involved in anything. That's a side point, we'll get to it. But the point over here is over here, that everything you have in your life, even though you worked very, very hard for it, and you went to school for it, and you worked long hours and years until you made $1, but don't give yourself so much credit. The credit is due to Hashem, because Hashem wanted you to have it. The same way he gave the man for free, he gives you your outcome for free. He was the one who found you your first job. He was the one who may give you the decision to go to school for whatever it is that you wanted to go for. He was the one who got you your first customer. He was the one who made sure the first bills were paid. He was the one who made sure the bills continue to get paid. That is the big lesson we learned from this week. Thank you, everyone, for joining us all here today. Have a wonderful, beautiful Shabbos. And as always, I love you all.